Today we're going to do a video entirely based around provisioning for an Atlantic crossing. We are currently in West Palm Beach in order to do this, and we made that decision because the Bahamas was just so very expensive and we needed to do a lot of small fixes on the boat, which required some West Marine supplies. So here we are in West Palm Beach on one of our last days before the crossing, and we're excited to tell you a little bit about our process for provisioning. Our first stop, of course, is West Marine. We have a lot of things we need from here, so this is going to be a bit of a big spending day, but all things are totally necessary in our eyes, so here we go. Among the many things that we got at West Marine was a new captain's chair that's smaller, a bunch of fishing lures, harness for Frank, and a new dinghy anchor. Important things, technology, on our way. Okay, we're here at the Apple Store, and we found the drone that we've been researching and looking at getting, and we may just get it now, but we're thinking about it. But what we want is the Spark, because it is small, compact. It doesn't do 4K, but it does everything else, and it's tiny, and you can do like little hand signals and it'll do stuff. So it seems to be really cool and perfect for the boat. I've got dry boat flavor for science.
There's sour stuff.
I like candy. So a really important part of provisioning is books. Especially when you're going to be out on the ocean and no internet, you'll get really tired of playing little games. So, for books today, I got Ann Patchett's my favorite author, so I got Run by her. I got A Room with a View because I feel like I should read it and it looked really good. And to keep myself really occupied, Count of Monte Cristo.
And I got Flatland, which is a pretty flat book. And The Fabric of the Cosmos, because a friend of mine highly recommended it, because I was looking at reading Elegant Universe, and he said, go for this one. So while Maddie's putting away all the provisions and getting the boat ready for us to go, I'm taking care of some repairs, and one of the repairs that we're doing is on our bilge pump hose. So our emergency bilge pump is great. It's an Edson manual bilge pump, and it does 1 gallon per throw of the lever. So it's pretty impressive. The problem is it runs right next to the shaft, and one of the set screws to the shaft kind of nicked it, and it's spun by it so many times it's actually poked a hole inside of it. So to fix that, I'm gonna plug up the hole with some sealant, and then to avoid it from happening again, I made a shield out of an old tin can. So I'll put this over the hose, and then that'll keep it protected. I tried to get a check valve, but they didn't have any in 3/4 inch right now, and we kind of need it right now because we're leaving. So instead I got a gate valve with 3/4 inch barbs, and we'll simply use this as a manual check valve. So when you pump out the bilge, we open it, and then when the bilge is done, you close it again. That way it doesn't flood the motor.
Okay, so we went to West Marine, and we went to get our books, and we went to the Apple Store. Why? For 3 reasons. 1, I need a new phone case to protect my phone, and Frank needed a new phone altogether. And 2, extra charging cords. Very important, because when you're working with salt water for long periods of time, things are going to corrode. And we've already had 2 corrode on us, so these are going to be super important. And 3, ta-da! We got a drone and we're really excited. We're not gonna unbox it until we get to the Azores, so that'll happen on a separate video. But you have a lot of awesome footage to look forward to in Europe. So we're really excited about this. And now we're going to go to Publix, which is the grocery store down south in Florida. And we're going to just stock the heck out of this boat with food. We started with the produce section. Now, veggies and fruits are very important to have, although they will go bad within the first couple weeks of being on the boat. So it's important that you don't get too many because you won't be able to eat them before they go bad. Next, we stocked up on nuts and things to go into a trail mix that we were going to make, and tons of pasta. Pasta is really important. Eggs, butter, and cheese, things to snack on when it's too rough outside to cook, and of course, meats. So we got lots of chicken, beef, turkey, and topped it off with some more fruit. For breads, we got a lot of wraps because they don't take up very much space, but we also make our own bread on the boat. And the very important thing to do before going out is to make a list. So we were able to check off everything on our list, and it cost us a pretty penny, but it'll be worth it for sure. When you're provisioning for a really long journey, such as the one we had ahead of us, it is very important to try to get as little plastic as possible. So things that come in large plastic containers, you can get them, but the thing that we did is we brought a ton of mason jars. So things like big fat pasta boxes and stuff like that, we packed them all in mason jars so that we can then throw out all of our trash before we leave. And we don't have a boat full of plastic trash in the middle of the Atlantic. This is great. We get to collect rain right before our journey. We'll have nice fresh rainwater. And what are you guys doing?
So we've been washing everything with salt water, and if we don't get all the salt off, the knives rust. Actually that one's good. They get pretty rusty looking. So now we're just polishing all this rust off and making them look new again.
So now we've learned that we have to wash our knives with just fresh water.
It's not worth the risk.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to get one more painting commission right before we left, so I did it all in one sitting because I didn't have very much time before we had to go to the post office before leaving. And it was a really nice boost in order to help pay for that big wad of groceries we had gotten the night before. Meanwhile, Herbie set to work servicing all of our winches, which meant putting grease on them so that they didn't make tons of noise when they turned. So we're thinking of keeping this as a dinghy chair. What do you guys think? For our last dinner before the trip, we are choosing to go to sushi. Really important process to do before going on a long trip like this is to use a food saver on your meats. It does add some plastic waste, however, it keeps the chicken fresh and any kind of beef you might have, and makes it so that it'll make the crossing with you. So it is worth it, and it's a very easy solution.
Yeah, right now I'm doing ground beef, and you just cut off from a whole spool the little piece you need, and then you seal one end, put the meat in, vacuum seal it. So it's pretty straightforward. One meal in a bag. And it's sealed. So when you do the seal, you want to make sure that you have a straight continuous line all the way across. Because if not, you might actually have a leak and you have to seal it again.
Part of our last minute preparations is switching the hose to go to this foot pump because it's going to help us preserve water if we have to pump all of our water with our feet. Speaking of water, our very last stop before we headed out was to go to a dock and get our gas tanks filled as well as all of our water tanks. This is probably the most important thing that we did in preparation for leaving. In addition to the water tanks that we have in the boat, we also filled 3 of our bladder tanks, which have 5 gallons each, just in case, because you can't have too much water. He's also disassembling the mantis anchor so that it's not a giant hammer on the bow of our boat while we're going. And I don't expect we'll be anchoring in the middle of the ocean, so this way, what happened to us off of Hatteras is not at all even possible. If you have any other questions about our provisioning and preparing process for the Atlantic crossing, please let us know in the comments down below. We would love to hear from you. Also, you can let us know if you have any suggestions because we will be making the crossing a second time when we come back, so it'd be great to hear suggestions. Officially on our trip across the Atlantic. It's a beautiful morning and we have to start eating these vegetables that we got.
And now once again, we have a functioning stern light. So tonight will be legal and safe. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends.
And if you'd like to follow our journey in real time on a map, receive postcards from our ports of call, and message us directly to the boat, you can go ahead and become a patron using the link in the description down below.